Hello, pizza people. This is the Pizza Guy DIY on YouTube. Join the pizza party. Today we're going to talk about foundation realization. And what that means is, in the last couple of videos I've mentioned that I got a recipe for a 6-inch dough ball. I'm going to cut that in half and make 2 8-inch pizzas. But that was totally wrong. And if I quoted Frank Zappa, it's because I'm a dancing fool. And nobody's going to understand that. And guess what? That leads us to this slide. I'm not like the other girls. I am more like a kangaroo standing on the beach, staring out at the ocean, contemplating life. Why am I here? All right, and I'm going to show you a black screen for a minute, just to explain the craziness that I just stated. Look, YouTube is filled with pizza porn. There's a beautiful Italian girl dancing in her daddy's Italian restaurant pizza kitchen, doing TikTok YouTube videos, right? She's millions upon millions upon millions of views because she's a skinny little pretty girl with jiggly little itty bitty titty, and that sells. That's making her a ton of money. She is monetized on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, I guarantee. At least she's not on OnlyFans, right? But then there's the guy who does the pizza where, okay, prepare your earbuds or your yeah, right. It's this guy. Here's the dough. Here's the pizza, or here's the sauce. Here's the cheese. Here's the meat. Here's the oven. Here's the pizza. Really? Bam, bam, bam guy? Millions and millions of freaking views. Millions of views. I don't want to hear him slamming shit on the countertop. And I'm not Mr. ASMR. I'm completely anti-ASMR. Or AMSR, ASMR. I don't care. Anyway, I'm different than the other channels. I'm not like the other girls. That's the point. What the fuck? It's a kangaroo at the beach, staring at the ocean. What more do you want? Well, look and see. I think you'll agree. Nobody's weird like me, dude. And, how else can I illustrate that? Just that I'm going to do things different. I'm going to jump off a freaking cliff like this dog into the ocean, trying to connect with you. Yeah, I know. It's weird, but YouTube is too populated with normies. There's the guys who, I've been a pizziola for 25 years, and I've worked at this restaurant, and I know everything, and I got a 100-year-old oven that inherited from my grandpa's grandpa. And, okay, that's great, fascinating stuff. Great pizza porn. But, there's also the other people who err on the side of caution is not the right term. Lean towards being way too damn practical, where they just show you, hey, 350 grams of flour, 400 grams of water, 10 grams of salt, 80 grams of yeast. Okay, do you understand I'm exaggerating? But all they want. People show up on a channel and start saying, shh, quit talking and just give us a recipe. Well, fuck, dude. Go to a recipe website, allrecipes.com. Go to Google, ask for pizza recipes. You'll find a million. What are you doing on YouTube, you dumbass? So anyway, yeah, I'm a grumpy old man today. No, not really. But I'm wicked happy. I'm like that freaking smiley face on the right-hand side of the screen. I'm wicked happy because I realized that pi r square. In the last couple of videos, I said something about, I had a 16-inch dough ball, I cut it in half and thought that made 2 8-inch pizzas. Well, duh, it doesn't. Let me just tell you that. So we're going to get into all of that. But initially, before we get there, I want to show you or talk to you about that. I'm going to be showing you pictures, letters, and words. I'm going to show you numbers and math. But what I can't show you is the kinesthetic or experiential thing, the DIY, the do-it-yourself, fool around, find out, do something even if it's wrong. You learn from the experience, right? But I'm going to show you math. As a visual learner, I like to see a formula on a chalkboard, but then I like to see the teacher draw a picture illustrating the formula, explaining the formula. And then I can read that and what's the word called? It's like Tums or Alka-Seltzer. I mean, that information eventually fizzles into my body and I get it. These are all very different things, but research shows that we all have, like, there are 4 primary types of learning styles, and I'm going to try to cover them all. And what I can't show you is the experiential part. You have to do it yourself, fool around, find out, even if it's wrong, do something even if it's wrong, learn from your experiences. So let's go. All right, so I screwed up big time when I said, I got a 16-inch dough ball recipe, or I got a 16-inch dough ball. If I cut it in half, it's 2 8-inch pizzas. No, I took a 16-inch thin crust dough ball, cut it in half, and I had 2 thick crust 8-inch thick crust pizzas. What? How did that happen? I did not understand it. But what I forgot is that A equals pi times the radius squared, right? Pi r square. Okay, A equals the area of a circle. Then pi is a mathematical constant discovered by Archimedes in ancient Greece, I guess the year 250 BC, before Jesus even existed. Archimedes figured out pi. He figured out how to calculate the radius of a freaking circle into square inches, bro. Well, maybe they were using millimeters over there back then, but whatever. Anyway, r is the radius, so the distance from the center of the circle to the outer edge. I'm going to show you a picture. Stick around. Right now we're looking at the visual learners, the people who read, the people who recognize numbers and letters, and me explaining it, people who recognize auditory information. In the next picture, or in the next moment, we're going to see pictures. But I just want to finish that this means A is the area, pi is a mathematical constant of 3.14, r is the radius, and squared means you multiply it by itself. That'll be explained in greater detail here with this picture. If you look at the square on the left, you see that it's a 16-inch by 16-inch square, which is 256 inches. But when you cut off the 4 corners, which are illustrated here in yellow, you remove square inches. So a 16-inch square is different than a 16-inch circle in terms of its area. So the 16-inch circle has an area of 201 square inches, and that is understood or determined by pi. Because we can't do 16-inch by 16-inch, because it's not a square with absolutes, it's got a radius to it. It's got a diameter, right? We're going to take the diameter and the radius and combine them. See, this is really difficult to describe math. I'm not a math teacher. My poor math teacher was very patient. Not with me. Well, no, she wasn't patient with me at all. She sent me to the principal all the time because she would ask a question, I'd raise my hand, and she wouldn't call on me, and I'd blurt out the answer anyway. Just to keep it moving, lady. Keep it moving. Get on with the program. And she's like, Troy, I'm going to have to send you to the principal again. What? You can't blurt. You have to wait to be called on. Nobody's ever going to answer the question, lady. These people just stood here. My whole class was just a bunch of idiots. Anyway, sorry. Little rant, little tangent. See, I'm not like other channels. I'm just going to I'm going to tell it like it is. Anyway, so here's a circle, right? And you can't do 16 times 16 because we have to cut off all those corners. So you have to use pi, which is 3.14, a mathematical constant discovered by Archimedes in the year 2050 BC. It gets kind of tricky. Let me grab my mouse and try to see this. See my mouse moving on the screen right there? See that 16-inch with an 8-inch radius is 201 inches. You can see here's a 16-inch pizza. 16 inches meaning the diameter, not the circumference. Oh, we'll get into the circumference and value per square inch of pizza and cost later. Maybe not in this video, but pi is the 3.14 times the 8-inch radius of a 16-inch diameter circle. So 8 times 8 squared, 8 times itself, is 64 inches. 3.14 times 64 equals the 201 square inches. Then I've just gone ahead and added 8-inch circle has a 4-inch radius, so that pi, which is a mathematical constant, that doesn't change. The diameter and radius of our circle can change, and even the circumference, of course, will change. But the 3.14 is the constant. But the radius now has changed from 8 inches on a 16-inch diameter to 4 inches on an 8-inch diameter. So 4 inches times 4 inches, or 4 times itself squared, is 16 inches. So 3.14 times 16 equals 50. There it is. So here's an illustration. Here is 200 square inches of pizza. This is actually a 12-inch pizza, but I'm just going to use this because it's the only full circle pizza I had on hand. All right, so here is, let's pretend this is a 16-inch pizza, 201 square inches. You cut it in half, you get 100 square inches top and 100 square inches bottom. Duh! Now you cut it in fourths, you get 50 square inches on each quadrant, or each quarter of this pizza. But if we want to make an 8-inch pizza, that same amount of crust will be shaped into a circle, and I can make 8-inch pizzas, 50 inches square, out of a 16-inch pizza dough ball, which will make 200 square inches of dough. I hope you're picking up what I'm throwing down. I'm trying to give you visual examples and numerical and textual information that clicks, and it should click if you're reasonably intelligent, right? And I know I sound like an idiot. I'm trying to explain this, but I'm a really smart guy. Anyway, here is 1/4 of a freaking pizza, and that makes perfect sense now, doesn't it? If you consider the whole circle is a 16-inch pizza, you cut it in half, and you can have two 100-inch pieces. You cut it in fourths, and you have 50 square inches in the green area. So if you take a 16-inch dough ball, you cut it into 4 pieces, you'd be able to make 4 50 square inch pieces of pizza. Okay? Now, I know that was a lot, so I'm just going to leave this screen here for a second and let you read, because some people read better than they hear. So I want you to read these words. If you're the kind of person who reads and doesn't need explanation or doesn't want explanation, then okay, there you go, carry on. But ultimately the bottom line is that one 16-inch dough ball can make 4 8-inch freaking pizzas of the same thickness, right? So if my 16-inch dough ball recipe was for a thin crust or a medium crust or a thick crust, it could make 8 pizzas of the same thickness. And I don't even know how Neapolitan figures in here, because the Neapolitan and what's the other one? The other foo-foo fancy boy guy from the the old school. That guy. God, I can't remember what that's called. Anyway, here's just yet another way of putting text on the screen with numbers for people who need to learn things by seeing things in a different way. Eventually, we get down to the bottom line, and that is a 16-inch dough ball will make 4 equal parts, yields enough dough for 4 8-inch pizzas. And if you look at the key points, it's based upon the weight. The typical 16-inch pizza dough ball weighs around 400 to 500 grams, and the 8-inch dough ball weighs around 100 to 125 grams. And that gives you, 4 8-inch pizzas from the 4 to 500 grams. Man, I was reading that and I had a thought. No, each pizza weighs this much. The dough weight. It's lost. Oh well. All right, now we're getting down to the nitty gritty. An 8-inch pizza is 50 square inches, a 12-inch pizza is 113 inches, and a 16-inch pizza is 201 square inches. Guess what? So you could take a 16-inch pizza and make two 12-inch pizzas. You could pinch off a little bit of that and change the weight, right? And get two 12-inch pizzas. You go from a 200 square inch pizza, you cut that in half, that should make two 12-inch pizzas with a little excess dough. So if you pinch off a little bit of dough, you get down to 100 square inches for a 12-inch pizza. Or you get to 4 8-inch pizzas because they're 50 square inches. All right? Hopefully you're picking it up, you're getting it, it's coming through, it's absorbing, it's Alka-Seltzering into your body. So let's see, pizza by the inch. Oh yeah, we're going to get down into it now. You know, actually we'll get down into it in the next slide also. Pizza by the inch. Bigger pizzas almost always provide better value per bite and per penny. So the area of a pizza increases with the square of its radius. We just explored all of that, right? Even small increases in diameter will result in significantly more pizza. From 12 inches to 16 inches, you get twice as much pizza. That's crazy. From 8 inches to 16 inches, you get 4 times more pizza. That's crazy. But guess what? The restaurants don't reduce the price accordingly. The difference between a small pizza, an 8-inch, and a large 16-inch is only about 33%. Even though you can make 4 8-inch pizzas out of one 16-inch dough ball. However, we're also talking about the square inches of cheese and meat and peppers and onions and olives and pepperoni and whatever toppings go on your pizzas, right? So all of this is kind of like a value judgment, or maybe people weigh everything at a pizza joint. I'm sure y'all have seen Dobro. If you haven't seen Dobro, Dotoli, D-O-T-O-L-I, I don't know. Maybe it's D-O-U-G-H-T-O-L-I. Anyway, he's the dude who works at, I think, Papa John's. And he does it better. He's that guy. Now, he measures things, right? He puts on 1 cup of cheese. But not just 1 cup of cheese. He puts on 2 cups of cheese. That guy. All right, now, see, to me, that's pizza porn. I'm not gonna copy anything that guy does. Hardly. I might draw a little inspiration from watching that, but that's pizza porn, dude. So, am I giving you something that's different than pizza porn? Yeah, I hope eventually I'm going to... no, I guess not. What I'm giving you is pizza entertainment. I'm telling you stories. I'm talking about life in general. I'm talking about math. I'm talking about, cooking, purchasing things. I'm talking about cost and economy. I'm talking about all kinds of things. So yeah, I think I'm a very different pizza channel. I'm not pizza porn. I'm not like the other girls. I'm like a kangaroo on the beach, looking out at the ocean, wondering, what the hell am I doing here? I used to buy large 16-inch thin crust restaurant pizzas and a variety of deep dish and stuffed pizzas when I lived in the Chicago suburbs before the worldwide lockdown. Reheated pizza was okay, but it's nothing like a pizza at a restaurant fresh out of the oven. To me, cold pizza is just gross. Your mileage may vary, but I don't care. We have the right to disagree. But going back to, deep dish pizza and stuffed oven or stuffed pizzas, in the oven, those reheated pretty nicely with a piece of tin foil on the top, loosely tented. But the thin crust stuff, you throw it in the microwave and it turns to smush, or it turns to a wet, soggy, limp, icky thing. So ultimately, what I've learned is fresh pizza is the best pizza. And that's what I'm going to try to accomplish here, is coming up with, well, that's another slide. Let's keep going. Anyway, I'm trying to break down my absolute love for pizza. And it has forced me to analyze everything about pizza and pizza channels. And that's what I've been doing here, right? So that's how I came to understand that fresh pizza is the best pizza. There it is. I finally said it. It was on the screen the whole time, but it took me a minute to get there. But pizza doesn't have to get married. You don't have to stick one thing into the other thing overnight for them to make a baby. Pizza is pizza. And it doesn't reheat as well as other things like lasagna, casseroles, soups, right? Those are the things that need to get married. And I honestly got to tell you, Kitchen Guy DIY, I talk about lasagna, casserole, soups, all the other things that I cook and eat, and nobody cares. I mean, I haven't even made content for that, even though I've been cataloging a lot of stuff for years. If I can't get the Pizza Guy channel monetized, Kitchen Guy doesn't have a chance in hell. So, finally, as a result of making videos here comes a huge shift in what I'll be spending my time on. All right, so I started this channel because lockdown. I bought a whole buttload of frozen pizza and threw it in the freezer because I figured, okay, they just announced a virus, and I'm going to stock up on food that was made before that virus hit the world. So I bought a bunch of frozen pizza, a bunch of cheese, a bunch of toppings, put it in the freezer. Eventually I ran out, and then I started buying the Take and Bakes. And, I have another video where I mentioned that the Take and Bake pizzas I proved were FDA regulated and OSHA regulated. So everybody wore a hairnet, and some of them had to wear a hard hat. Safety glasses, masks, gloves, Tyvek little jumpsuits and stuff to a pure cleanliness environment. Everything got sterilized every 24 hours. Then they would do another production run. Some of these food factories run 24/7. Even during lockdown, I felt pretty comfortable that the Take and Bake pizza, especially after I cook it to like 400 degrees, well, 400 degrees in the oven, but only 160 degrees internal temperature. At what point did the worldwide lockdown cause die? Did it die at 160 degrees? I don't know. But, after a year of frozen pizza and another year of Take and Bake, it became pretty obvious that it was a scam. The whole pre-made crust came next for me, and garden tomatoes. I started growing tomatoes and grew a garden because my business got destroyed during lockdown, and I had to do something with my time, so I grew a garden. So I got garden tomatoes, I got homemade sauce, and I still have to. I'm learning how to make mozzarella cheese. Haven't tried it yet. I've watched a lot of videos, but you still have to buy store-bought milk in order to make cheese. Yeah, it's an interesting topic. It'll keep you busy. Because guess what? My business is never coming back. None of my 20 or 30 clients, I had some part-time clients and then I had some regular clients. And all of those businesses were destroyed by lockdown. Some of the 20-person companies are still existing as a 5-person company or just the family members that were employed at the 20-person company, right? There's 5 left. They were all relatives, that kind of thing. Blah, 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 blah. Like I said, if you're the person who said, shut up and show me a recipe, you're long gone. You ain't listening to this. But hopefully, somebody's watching and you're thinking that you can identify with me or you think I'm an idiot. I don't care which way you think. But realistically, I figured out that making dough from scratch is based upon pie. And the pie realization changes everything. So here's my announcement. I bought some hardware, and that's aimed at making the 8-inch pizza. I clarified my purpose. I'm going to make a foundation dough and crust recipe that makes 8-inch pizzas. I'll get a 16-inch dough ball recipe. I'll cut it into 4 pieces. I'll make 4 pizza doughs at a time. I can freeze the crust. I've already experimented with homemade frozen pizza. You would not believe how good it is. And how convenient it is. Instead of having to wash the counter, flour the counter, throw dough down on the counter, and wait a period of time and stretch the things, I can do 4 of them at one time, stack them up, put them in the freezer, pull them out, and use them. Actually, I can build the whole entire pizza. Put down the sauce, the cheese, the peps, the sausage and mushroom, or whatever toppings going on there. That can all go on there. And then that whole thing slides in a 1-gallon Ziploc bag. 8-inch pizza fits perfectly. Bam! Ziploc that, remove as much air as you can, freeze it. Boom! Instant reheatable pizza. I only have to make pizza once a month now, or maybe twice a month, because sometimes I want to eat pizza twice a week. So anyway, yeah, this is what I have sifted, out to be what I want. I want an 8-inch foundation dough and crust recipe, and then I will experiment with Old Faithful. Old Faithful is going to be probably a 1/4 cup of sauce. That's pretty saucy. Maybe it's 1/8 cup of sauce and a 1/4 cup of cheese, and then as many pepperonis as I can fit on the surface. But those pepperonis might be little 1.5-inch thin cup type pepperonis. They might be 2-inch thick cut pepperonis, or they might be 3-inch thin, but not very cuppable sandwich style pepperonis, because there's a variety of pepperonis. There's also a variety of sauces and cheese. So the point I'm trying to make with this long drawn out explanation is the foundation crust, the dough and the crust, will allow me to make Old Faithful in a multitude of ways. Guess what? It also allows me to make sausage and mushroom, supreme pizza, maybe pineapple and bacon, Canadian bacon, and I don't know, what do you typically pair with Canadian bacon? I'll even put frickin' apple pie sauce on there with some cinnamon and make a dessert pizza. Pie or pizza crust, I've said this in previous videos. I know nobody probably has watched them to the end, but the pizza crust is a food delivery platform. Just like a piece of rye bread is a food delivery platform. Now, rye bread is more suitable to certain flavors that go with the rye versus white bread. You put bologna on white bread. You don't put bologna on a nice dark rye. At least I wouldn't. And you probably don't put bologna on ciabatta. Etc., etc., etc. So I think there's a whole lot of really interesting stuff to talk about and think about, and I listen to people, but I don't hear anyone saying the things that I'm saying, and that's what I think makes me special and different and beautiful. Take it or leave it. Anyway, I will continue to build my own personal pizza menu, and DWETHIW, which is a lot longer than LOL, right? But that means do whatever the hell I want, because why else am I here? Thought I'd give you a final beauty shot. So here it is. That's me. My name's Troy from troysweb.com. Yes, Troy S. Web. That's my name. Don't wear it out. troysweb.com. And hit that buy me a pizza button. It's the same thing as buy me a coffee. Or hit that PayPal button. PayPal is nothing more than a credit card processor. You do not need an account at either company. If you want to help me grow the channel, buy me a pizza oven, buy me a pizza pan, buy me some meat and cheese, all those little things. So here are a bunch of topics that may never be made because I may never make another video. Anyway, maybe if you want to subscribe, like, share, comment, it'll encourage me to continue making videos. Otherwise, I'm just going to scale back from trying to make a video a week to who cares? Whenever I feel like it.